Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I will be teaching you how to make yet another granny square, and this time it's going to be this mistletoe inspired granny square. However, you can easily also use this pattern for creating different kinds of flowers or just general granny squares, but with this color scheme it really represents kind of like Christmas, so I think it will be a fun creation for this season. You can use this pattern to create loads of granny squares and then connect them together to make scarves, cardigans, or anything that you can come up with. Otherwise, these squares can also be a cute decoration or a coaster for your Christmas dinner. As always, I have made sure that this pattern and video is as beginner friendly as possible, so I'm really going into as much detail as I can with every single stitch and every single step to make sure that everyone is able to follow along. However, if you feel like I'm going too fast, then just feel free to adjust the speed of the video and I'm sure that it will help. Otherwise, if you have any questions, then just feel free to reach out in the comment section below and I will try to help you from there. But now, without further ado, let's get started. Here are the materials that I will be using. Here I have 3 different colors of cotton yarn, which is 4-ply. And of course, you will also need a crochet hook, and for this project I will be using 3.5mm hook. And you will also need scissors. And here is the final granny square, which I'm going to teach you how to do in this video. So let's jump into it. First, I will be starting with white yarn, and our first step is to do a magic ring. So for that, I'm just grabbing yarn and tying it around my fingers like this to create an X shape here. Then I'm just taking my crochet hook and going underneath the first piece of yarn that I have and grabbing the second piece and pulling it up to kind of have like a loop on my hook. So this is the magic ring and we just have to get started. So for this project, our first step is to chain 4. So for that, we just have to yarn over and then pull the yarn through the loop that we already had on our hook like this. So this counts as 1 chain. And now it's just left for us to do 3 more. So 1, 2, and 3. So this in total gives us 4 chains, and we also have our magic ring, so this is where we are going to work all of our stitches. And in this case, this chain of 4 is going to count as 1 double crochet plus chain of 1. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. But now we can proceed further with doing stitches inside this magic ring. And for the first round, we will basically be doing double crochet, chain of 1, double crochet, chain of 1, and all of them will go inside here. So let's get started with that. So for the double crochet, we just have to yarn over and then go inside the magic ring here, then grab yarn and pull it up to have 3 loops on the hook, then yarn over again and pull through the first 2 to have 2 remaining loops, and then yarn over again for the second time and pull through remaining 2 loops like this. So this is 1 double crochet, and since we have completed that, we just have to chain 1 and then we just have to repeat again the same process. The important thing about magic ring is that whenever you are doing stitches, you have to make sure that stitches that you are doing are covering both pieces of yarn that you have here. So both of these have to be underneath the stitches that you do, and in case if you're running out of this second loose piece of yarn, you just have to pull it to get a little bit more of it. So just also keep that in mind. But now let's do another one together. So we are doing double crochet, yarning over, going through the magic ring, grabbing yarn and pulling up to have 3 loops, yarning over and pulling through 2, yarning over again and pulling through remaining 2 like this. Double crochet is completed and we are just chaining 1 after that like this. So here technically we have 3 double crochets and chain of 1 after each of them, and in total for this round we need 12 of them. So now we have 3, so it's just left for us to do 9 more. So just proceed with doing that and do all of these stitches inside the magic ring. So here I have done all the stitches for the first round. So I have 12 double crochets and chain of 1 after each of them. So now now we are done with this round, and first before we start connecting, we just have to close this magic ring. And to do that, all we have to do is just pull this loose piece of yarn that we have here, and as we are pulling it, you can see that this round is closing and we are establishing nice and smooth round shape. So now it's done and we can connect this round together. So to do that, we will be doing a slip stitch inside the third chain from the very beginning where we started. So to do that, I'm just going through this third chain here, then grabbing yarn and pulling it up to have 2 loops, and then pulling this second loop through the loop that I already had on my hook, like this. So now this round is also connected and we can fasten off. To do that, I'm just going to chain 1 like this, then making the loop a little bit longer and grabbing my scissors and then just cutting off yarn. And as it's cut off, we can tighten this in a secure knot just by pulling this loose end that we have here, like this. So now this first round is connected and we can proceed further with the next one. So for the second round, I will be using this red color, and our first step is to attach yarn to the round that we just finished. And in this case, we will be doing that inside here in one of the chain 1 spaces that we have from the previous round. It doesn't really matter which one. I'm always trying to do it somewhere away from where we fastened off. So you just pick a random stitch there and then just grab yarn and pull it through this space and basically just make a secure knot in here like this. And then we can get started. So throughout this round, we will be doing clusters of 3 double crochets. But for the first one, we are first pulling up a loop like this to get started, and then just chaining 3. So 1, 2, and 3. And this is basically helping us to get started. So only the first stitch is the one that is going to be a little bit different. After this, we are adding inside this space 2 double crochet clusters. So for that, I'm basically starting to work on double crochet stitch like this and just completing it halfway through. So this is basically one unfinished double crochet, and then inside this same space I'm adding another unfinished double crochet stitch. So at this stage you should have 3 loops on your hook, and then just yarn over and pull through all 3 loops like this. So this counts as 1 3 double crochet cluster, and once that's done, we are just chaining 1, and then we are proceeding further with the next chain of 1 space that we have here. So inside there, I'm just starting to work on 3 unfinished double crochets. So this is 1, then adding another one and keeping all the loops on the hook, and then also adding the third one, which is the final one. So starting from this point, you should have 4 loops on your hook, then just yarn over and go through all of them like this. So this is cluster of 3 double crochets, and after that we are just chaining 1 and then again proceeding further with the next space that we have here. And as you can see, whenever I'm adding these stitches, I'm also hiding this loose end of yarn that we have from the starting point when we attached this color to the previous round. So if I flip it back, you can see that I'm just, whenever I have this yarn, I'm just hiding it underneath the stitches that I'm doing. But here is another cluster that I'm completing like this, and this is how it looks. So this is basically what you have to do in each of these chain of 1 spaces. So basically just go all the way around and add in these clusters until you reach the very beginning. And just remember to chain 1 after each of them, but just continue doing this and I will meet you back once I have reached the beginning as well. Here it's just left for me to do the very final cluster, so I'm just doing that and adding 3 of these unfinished double crochets inside the chain of 1 space like this. And now that it's done, I'm just chaining 1, and now we can also connect this round together. So again, we will be doing that here inside the very first cluster with the slip stitch. So I'm just going through this cluster stitch in here and performing a slip stitch like this. So now this round is connected and we won't use this color anymore, so we can fasten off. And for that, again, just chaining 1, making the loop longer, grabbing scissors and cutting off. and then just tightening in a secure knot like this. So now also the second round is finalized. So now we can proceed with the third round, and for that I'm using this green color. And again, our first step is to attach yarn in a random space here between the clusters from the previous round. So again, for that I'm just going through this space, grabbing yarn and looping it through, and then just attaching it in a secure knot like this. And now we can get started with the third round, and within this round we will be establishing the square shape. So that's something that we are going to do, and first we will be starting with creating a corner. And throughout this round we will also be using double crochet clusters, so similar from the previous round, as well as half double crochets and some chains in between them. So let's get started. So first we are working on a corner, so I'm just pulling up a loop and then chaining 3 again like this, and this will help us with creating the first cluster. So now we just have to do 2 double crochet clusters. So I'm just adding 1 unfinished double crochet and then also the second. So this is what we have for the first cluster, and then we are just yarning over and going through all the stitches, and here we have half of our corner. Now we just need to make this corner turn, so for that we are chaining 3, so 1, 2 and 3. And now to finalize this corner we will be adding another cluster of 3 double crochets, and we are adding it in here in the same space that we just did. So inside this space I'm adding first 3 unfinished double crochets and keeping all the loops on my hook until I have 4 loops on my hook, and then yarning over and finalizing this. So this is one corner that we have just created, and this is how it looks. But now we can proceed further with the next space, and before we do that I just have to chain 1, and then we are going inside this space that we have here, and in there we are adding 1 half double crochet. So for that you just have to yarn over, go through this space, grab yarn and pull it up to have 3 loops on your hook, then yarn over and go through all 3 loops like this. So this is 1 half double crochet, and this is how it looks. But now we can proceed with the next space, and before we do that we just have to chain 2, so 1 and 2, and then in this next space we are also adding 1 half double crochet. So yarning over, grabbing yarn, pulling it up to have 3 loops, then yarning over and going through all 3 loops like this. So now we have completed kind of like edge or side of this square, and we can proceed with adding the following corner. So for that again just chaining 1 and then going inside this space, and we will be adding 2 clusters of 3 double crochets for each and chain of 3 in between them. So let's do that together. I'm just starting with the first one, so this is already the second unfinished double crochet, and also adding the third one like this, then yarning over and completing it. And now we can make this corner to turn, so chaining 3, 1, 2 and 3, and then adding another cluster of 3 double crochets inside this very same space. So already completing the third unfinished double crochet, and then just yarning over and our corner is basically added. So this is how it looks. This is one side of the square, and now you basically just have to repeat the process that we did to add all 4 corners and complete all 4 edges or sides of the square. So now this corner is completed. We are just chaining 1, and then we can proceed with adding half double crochet, then chain of 2, another half double crochet, chain of 1, and adding the corner. So it's kind of like repetitive now, so all you have to do is just repeat the stitches that we just did, and in case you're forgetting, then just rewind the video and just remind yourself of like what are the next steps. And now basically also the third round is completed. So after this last half double crochet, I'm again just chaining 1, and then we can connect this round together with a slip stitch. So I'm just going through this first cluster that we did in the beginning and doing a slip stitch in there like this. And now we can fasten off this color, so chaining 1, making the loop longer and cutting off yarn and tightening in a secure knot like this. So this is how the third round looks like, and we can proceed with the next one. So now we can proceed with the fourth round, which is going to be the final one, at least in my case, and for that I'm again using white yarn. And our first step is to attach yarn, so we are going to do that in one of the corners. You can pick whichever corner you wish, and then just loop this yarn through and attach it by making a knot, just as we did it before, like this. And now, since it's attached, we can proceed further with adding in stitches for this round. So our first step is to pull up a loop, and we are again starting to work with the corner since we are already in the corner. And our first step is to chain 3, so 1, 2 and 3, and this chain of 3 is going to count as 1 double crochet. After that we are adding 2 more double crochets inside this very same space, so I'm completing both of these stitches like this, and this is half of the corner. After that we are chaining 3, so 1, 2 and 3. This helps our corner to turn, and then we are adding 3 more double crochets inside this same space. So I'm just starting to work on first one, then adding the second one and also the third one in the same space. So this is how our corner looks like. And then right away we can proceed further with this space that we have here, and inside there we are adding 2 double crochets. So I'm going into this chain of 1 space and adding 1 double crochet, and then adding another one inside the same space like this. So this is how it looks, and then we can proceed with the next space, which is this chain of 2 in between the half double crochets, and inside there we are adding 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, and then also the third one in the same space like this. And then again we have this chain of 1 between corner and half double crochet, and there we are having 2 double crochet stitches. So 1 and also adding another one. And now we have reached the next corner, and in there we are going to do similar as here. So we will have 3 double crochets, chain of 3 and 3 double crochets again. So let's do that together to finalize this corner. So I'm just adding the first one, then the second and also the third like this, and then turning our corner with chain of 3, so 1, 2, 3 like that, and then adding 3 more double crochets inside the very same space. So this is 1, then adding the second one, and then also adding the third one like this. So now this one side is completed, and you can proceed with stitches on this side. So again, just to remind you, in the first space we are adding 2 double crochets, then here in the middle we have 3 double crochets, then again 2 double crochets, and then stitches for the corner. So the same thing that we just did. So just proceed with repeating these steps all the way around and adding 4 corners in total, as well as 4 sides in total. So just keep on doing this, and I will meet you back once we are able to connect this round together. So here I have gone all the way around and completed this round, and here I am at the very beginning, so we can connect this round actually together. And again we are using slip stitch for that. I'm just going through this third chain from the very beginning and doing a slip stitch in there like this. So this is how our granny square looks like at the moment, and if I measure it, it is around 8 centimeters or 7.5 in total, so it's quite tiny. But if you want to make it bigger, you're more than welcome to do that. And for that you basically just have to proceed with starting with chain of 3, which would count as double crochet, then adding double crochet on top of every single stitch that you have from the previous round, and in the corners it would be 2 double crochets, chain of 3 and 2 double crochets again. So if you wish, you can do that. Otherwise, if you're happy with this size, we can also fasten off, and for that, as usual, you just have to chain 1, make the loop longer, then grab scissors and cut off yarn, and just tighten it in a secure knot like this. And this is how our granny square looks like. So now the only last step to do is basically to just weave in these loose ends that we have in the back. And for that, normally I use my crochet hook and just weave them through whatever random spaces or stitches I have in the back. But if you wish, you can also use a darning needle if that's easier for you. But the aim is basically to hide this loose end so it's not hanging, and just hide it inside the stitches in the back. And do that for all the remaining yarn pieces that you have if you didn't manage to hide it during the process when you were adding stitches. Otherwise, this is our granny square and this is how it looks. And it's really fun to actually create multiple of them and then just connect them together to create even bigger crochet creations or bigger projects. And it's totally up to you what you want to create. You can basically make anything from them, so just let your imagination go wild. So that was it for me today. I really hope you had fun with this video tutorial, and I hope that it was useful. In case you need any help or if you have any questions, then just feel free to reach out in the comment section below and I will try to help you from there. And otherwise, if you did enjoy this video, then please give me a big thumbs up, and if you're new here, then please subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye!